have another great guest. I'm the one that brings down the averages. Also got to say a special good morning to Coco B, working hard in the corner.
Good morning.
Hi, Coco B. Okay, so we are going to have a great conversation with Miss Ashley Bryan, the acting CEO of the Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority. Good morning.
Good morning.
How you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. How are you?
I'm good. All right, we got you some water.
Thank you.
Unlike the Senate,
Sponsored by Liberty?
Well, kind of. Unlike the Senate, it is clean water. I don't know. Nobody brought you any water and was like, hey, drink this. Would you drink this? No. But acting CEO of WAPA.
Yeah.
I'm going to do some things this morning.
Okay.
I'm going to start off with this. I love to see young Virgin Islanders in leadership positions. So from that standpoint, congratulations.
Thank you.
Would you like to stop acting? Would you like to be the permanent CEO?
That's the goal, right? You know, in any professional realm, when you're trying to see where you want to be, you know, they always ask that question, where do you see yourself in 5 years? When I started WAPA 10 years ago, it was always that I wanted to keep moving up and eventually be the first female CEO of WAPA.
So this was a goal of yours?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, so I was about to now comment on your bravery, because many people would refuse this position considering the troubles with the authority.
Indeed.
Now, with that 10 years ago and those aspirations, somewhere along the line, were you not deterred from wanting that role?
I think that no job that's worth doing comes without challenge, and it wouldn't be worthwhile if it wasn't a struggle. You know, people have told me that when I started acting, you know, like, how are you doing? Are you stressed out? And there was no part of me that ever thought that this wouldn't be a challenge, but I jumped at that challenge. This is a chance to make a difference. So for me, it's been not only challenging, but also positive as well, because I can see where I need to, you know, go back and revamp things or have, you know, things that I can change now that I'm in the role that I wouldn't have been able to change before.
Okay. And born and raised here?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you have a educational background in electrical engineering, correct?
Correct.
All right. You got a degree from?
University of South Florida.
Okay. At one point, you are undeniably intelligent.
Thank you.
I mean, anybody you ask is like, oh no, Ashley's sharp.
Thank you.
She's smart. And then there's some people who say, well, if she's so smart, why did she take that role? How do you see changing, realistically, how do you see changing what is happening with the authority?
Okay. So good question. You know, people always ask me, why do you do what you do? And why do you keep trying? And for me, I know it can get better. 7 years ago when the storms happened, I was out in the field with line crews trying to get the system back online. And then I quickly was pulled and focused on these hazard mitigation projects that now are funded by FEMA. We also have projects that are funded by HUD. We have several billions of dollars that are available to us to completely transform the way that we provide services to customers of the Virgin Islands. Now, it's not a quick remedy. These things take time. There's a lot of requirements, especially on the federal side, for you to get the funds obligated to you. And then, of course, the execution. The entire world, especially post-COVID, is going through supply chain issues, you know, getting transformers and other electrical materials. It's a challenge now. And our system is so crippled from the storms. We have single points of failure everywhere on our system. You know, it's not one particular part. So you're balancing keeping the system alive until you can create these, you know, replacements for all of this great funding that we have available to us. So in 5 years, we're going to be seeing a very, very different WAPA and even a very different Virgin Islands, because we have the ability to provide for the first time better service and a hybridized service to our customers.
Okay.
You have renewables in the mix, you have new generation. We just got an entire replacement approval for the Richmond power plant that we haven't seen that ever. There was never any funding for capital to do that. And then the entire, everything outside of the power plant is also approved for replacement or hybridization in some point. So, the next storm that comes through after we do these projects, it won't impact us as much.
Okay, now what dollar amount would you put on fixing the St. Thomas power plant?
St. Thomas, we had an approval just recently that is going to replace Unit 15 and Unit 14. Historically, Unit 14 was our Black Start unit. It's one of the oldest units in the plant, over 50 years old. So not very reliable, except for when you need her to come online for black starting purposes. We're going to replace that unit. 15 is also the second oldest. It's 43 years old.
Damn.
That's going to be replaced as well through the prudent replacement projects under FEMA. Because we had other grants for generation in Randolph-Harley, like the Wardzilla projects that has been highly publicized, and that we're anticipating that's going to be completed in the end of this year. We now have the opportunity to replace 2 more units. So you'll have an entirely new generation system and some of the balance of plant as well that will be replaced. So for the 2 new units that we're getting, you're probably looking in the realm of about $100 million. The generation for Wardzilla is also about, $150 to $200 million all in. So about $400 million per plant to replace them.
Okay, so that's why I asked. You just got approval from HUD for $100 million, but you got a $400 million problem. So how do we get to the end of the line?
So the approval from HUD for the $100 million was for the acquisition of the 2 LPG terminals. Those recently had been owned by Vitol. They had done the construction and they had been operating it for WAPA over the life cycle of the terminals. The approval for the plants is something different. That is $400 million that's needed just for the generation system, not for the fuel service. So what we've been able to do through many different grant opportunities, HUD and FEMA, is, incrementally get to the place where we're going to have new reliable generation on both islands. And there's also a new generation project for St. John that'll allow for that island to be self-sustaining as well.
Okay, so now those are constructions.
Yep.
Budgets.
Yep.
Those are build-outs.
Correct.
But you seem to have day-to-day operation issues.
Correct.
How do we bridge that gap? If you have to budget for fuel,
Correct.
There's no approval there for that. How do we address that?
Yeah, so our fuel budget, and with the terminals now, once we get through the contract that we recently signed with Vitol, that's a 9-month term, we were originally paying a very high cost of transportation to bring the commodity from the Houston, Louisiana area to the territory. The logistics of providing fuel for St. Thomas and St. Croix is a little bit cumbersome. A lot of people don't know, but the Richmond Channel in St. Croix is very narrow. It's very shallow.
Right.
So you only can bring specific vessels and specific amounts of product to St. Croix. So the challenge is we bring larger amounts of fuel, LPG, to St. Thomas. We offload in the terminal in St. Thomas, and then we shuttle smaller volumes to St. Croix. So you're essentially doing milk runs the entire month to keep St. Croix alive. But we've been able to negotiate a lower transportation rate, so you're saving about $1 million a month on that. What our goal is to eventually get to operations where we're on 100% LPG versus having to operate on the higher diesel commodity. Diesel is about 3 times more costly than LPG is to operate. The new Wardzilla projects will get us to almost 100%. St. Croix is already on 100%. So they have more engines that can run on dual fuel capabilities than St. Thomas does. So incremental savings on fuel there. especially when we go out to market and we can negotiate down further, potentially fuel savings. The challenge with the generation fleet that we have now is trying to keep it alive until we can get all these great projects in. It's been highly publicized that the maintenance has been deferred due to a lot of funding issues. So our generators are way outside of what the industry would consider is their maintenance cycles.
And I would imagine needs more maintenance considering that you're right on the ocean.
And costs more too, right? So the longer you run a generator, especially a gas turbine, without taking it down for what's called a major overhaul, the longer it's going to take to fix. We've had Unit 19 in St. Croix that was down for just an inspection and some routine repairs. And where it should have taken 2 months, it actually is still down. It's from January. So a long time to repair and more money than what would normally be taken. So what we've done is we've taken a different approach. We know that we don't have a lot of spare generation to take a generator offline for a long period of time. But there's a lot of maintenance that we can do with the generator online that can make it more efficient. There's maintenance that we can do that's just like short outages for the generator. So when we see, the load drop down or we have enough generation available because of the maintenance that we're doing, we take it down for like 6 hours, 4 hours. We do some maintenance on it and bring it back online. And that incrementally gets us where we need to be. And it doesn't impact the overall budget, not too dramatically. But in our new budget that we're planning on, we are trying to focus on doing at least one major on a unit that is going to bring efficiency to the plant. That way we can keep it going until we can do these funded projects for the plant replacements.
Okay, now that sounds like a lot of forecasting, like down the line future things.
Yes.
And we are having problems today, yesterday, the day before.
We sure are.
Now, me personally, WAPA took out my fridge. So lucky for me, I don't ever have anything in my fridge. So it's not a big loss to me.
Not good.
But for individuals who have lost electrical appliances, or people who ask the question, well, if the power was off for so many hours this month, why is my bill still the same? What are the answers to those type questions?
A lot of things that people don't realize is that the bill that you receive is actually for the prior month. So you might have an outage today, like what we experienced this week. And then if you receive your bill tomorrow, it's not reflective of what just happened. Right. It's actually a predated bill. So I think that's where people are seeing a lot of the discrepancies, is because they don't understand that it's not for what's happening right now. It's for the prior month. And most utilities are like that. They don't bill you for active service. They bill you for what you previously consumed. But with a lot of people are struggling right now. Our employees are struggling too. I think a lot of people don't realize that we
experience this as well.
We're Virgin Islanders, and I know that doesn't help, right? Everyone is frustrated. I think our employees get really frustrated too anytime they get an alert that says there's a power outage. It's very disruptive to your lives. But we're trying our best essentially to do with what we have and make plans for the future to make it better.
All right, now when can we get back to some normalcy as far as power generation on St. Thomas?
I'm hoping very, very shortly. We just got Wardzilla to return to the plant to start working on the completion of the installation for the new Wardzillas. The first thing that they're going to be working on is the batteries that we have installed directly into our station service. The battery is sized to complement the size of the generator, which is 9 megawatts. What that battery is going to do is provide some reliability. If we trip an engine in the plant, that battery can actually deploy and save us from interrupting customer services. We're anticipating by the end of August that battery will be online. We also have a lot of intermittency on our grid because we have a lot of solar on the rooftops. We also have a plant at Dunu that doesn't have battery storage on it. So you can see a cloud move over, and that plant might be producing 6 megawatts now, which is the installed capacity. But as soon as the cloud moves over, it drops way down. And that can cause stability issues on the grid.
Okay.
Having this battery installed at the plant will keep that from tripping customers offline. So it'll provide services throughout the grid to stabilize what's been going on. So we're hoping with that battery online, we won't have a lot of these, major trips. Having Wardzilla on by the end of the year will also allow us to take Unit 23 out of the dispatch. We talk about Unit 23 a lot. People don't like Unit 23 because it's a large unit. It's actually my favorite unit because it saves us more times than not when we don't have generation. But the problem with Unit 23 is that it's so large that when it trips, it takes down so much of our grid that it destabilizes the grid. There's this thing called inertia, and the unit has so much of it because it has so much of the bulk load on it that it trips the other units as well. So it's a trickle down effect. And it also only runs on diesel. So having Wardzillas online, you have smaller engines, and when you have one engine trip, the impact to the customers is less. Plus you have that battery, so now that battery can deploy and you won't have the interruption to the customers happen as frequently. There's also some eGrid funds that we have through HUD. We have about $53 million in funds. We're doing a study right now. It should be completed within the next 2 weeks to strategically deploy batteries throughout our power system. So like at each one of the substations that service the different communities, we'll put a battery there. And when something happens on the grid, even if you lose a transmission line, like what we've been seeing with feeder 13, that battery can deploy for a certain amount of time. And it can allow for customers to have a buffer between when the power goes or when you have a fault on your system and the loss of their service. So that should be a quick grab project for us to deploy them. We're already in conversations with the Housing and Urban Development team and the HFA team, and we're hoping by the end of this year to have those batteries strategically deployed, not only in St. Thomas, but in St. Croix as well, St. John. We're trying to put it where the customers feel the outages less. We don't like interrupting customers. We're interrupted as well in the middle of the night. I've slept in my truck a couple of times trying to restore power. It's not something that we aim to do. We want to provide reliable service to our customers and stop interrupting their lives, really.
Okay, so realistically, we're thinking about another month of this.
Yes.
Well,
not another month of outages.
Okay.
Like I mentioned, we're trying to do some maintenance in the plant. We had an issue with Unit 15, which is the only gas turbine that can run dual fuel. There was a valve that went bad. We had to send it back to New York to get it repaired. And it's a safety issue. It can't be repaired in the field. You're dealing with LPG, so there's a lot of compliance issues. It has to be factory acceptance tested. We just got that valve back in. And we installed it last night. So that'll allow us to run more on LPG in St. Thomas, and as well as reduce the cost of operations in St. Thomas right now. You'll be able to take Unit 23 out of the mix with 15 online on LPG and optimize your dispatch in the power plant to start saving money. Without 15 online on LPG, we're spending about $5 million more over the course of that engine being out on just buying diesel. So having that engine online, you'll have extra income to be able to focus on other maintenance items that you need to focus on.
Okay, so fuel now, and the cost of fuel now seems to be the problem now.
Yes.
How do we fix that so we could operate regularly?
We can't control the cost of the commodity, right? That's
no, but where would you get the funding from?
For fuel?
Yeah.
That comes out of your rates. Okay. But what you need to focus
on... So me getting vexed, I said, me pay my bill this month because my fridge mash up. Doesn't help that.
No, but what we can control, and what we're trying to negotiate now and for the future is the cost of getting the product here. You can't control the cost of the product, right? When you go to the gas station, the product is the product, but what the gas station charges you for their particular service is what you can control. So like I mentioned, we have a deal with Vitol for 9 months that reduced the costs that we were paying originally. It reduced it about 30 cents. And then what we hope to do coming in March is go out to the market and reduce that cost even further. Similarly, for the diesel, we're trying to get away from, bulk diesel operations. Once we get these engines online, you'll be able to maximize your efficiency and do economic dispatching primarily on LPG. Which you pay about 80 cents per gallon for LPG plus the transportation, and you pay about $3 to $4 depending on what the commodity costs for diesel. So the disparity is real. We need to get on 100% LPG or as close there as possible. You'll always have diesel as a backup because, diesel, especially with the security protocols in the LPG plant, like when a storm comes and things like that, we have to have diesel as our backup fuel. But the goal is to get out to market, reduce the transportation rate, which sometimes, we were paying more for transporting the product to the territory than we were actually paying for the product. So that's what we can control by doing some competitive negotiations to get that rate as far down as possible, as well as getting that efficiency in our operations.
All right. Now, for the people who are calling for alternative energy, you mentioned solar, hydro, the plants are right on the water, but those are pretty still bodies of water.
Yeah, we don't have any hydro capabilities. What we may have is tidal. I was looking at an article last evening. There's a lot of good information, especially on LinkedIn. There's this new technology where these buoys, essentially, you place them out in the ocean, and because of the movement of the ocean, they have a generator inside, and that can be used as an alternative energy. We actually have a lot of projects going on right now that are for renewable energy. We recently had the Department of Energy secretary that came and toured the plants with a delegate to Congress.
And then we lost power 2 hours
right
later.
After she left.
Which was brilliant.
No, I was actually crossing my fingers that didn't happen.
Really?
Yes, so I was praying that didn't happen because it's like a lightning strike sometimes. I feel like the power plant is sort of like a lightning rod, and when you pray that something doesn't happen, that's when it happened. We call that goat mouth in the Virgin Islands, and obviously I goat mouth the power plant. But so right after the delegate and the secretary left, it was an outage. But I've been seeing a lot of things. WAPA plan that definitely didn't. We've been having some issues with 23 with low fuel, and that's what happened. Is it sucked up some bad fuel essentially, and it tripped.
But I feel like it highlights the need, so yes. I'm okay.
So with the renewables, we've been working with the National Renewable Energy Lab, which is under the umbrella of the Department of Energy, as well as the Department of Energy itself for many years. I don't think a lot of people know this, but they did the first wind study in Bavoni to say that you have the resource, to put wind out there. They've also done a lot of solar studies. They in their labs, if anyone ever has the opportunity to go to the lab, it's amazing to see their labs. You have a $15 billion sponsored lab, and they research everything from how to make your home more efficient, energy saving. They look at all of the renewable energy technologies. They even have a guy that shoots potato guns after wind turbines to test their resiliency for flying projectiles, because wind turbines are often susceptible to birds especially. So they've done a lot of work with us over the course of the last 10 years that I've been here, and even before that they did some work on the energy roadmap that was developed many years ago for the the territory on where we wanted to go, reducing our dependency on fossil fuels by 60% by 2025. That was the roadmap that started the integration of all of the renewables, the Dunu solar farm, the Estate Spanish Town solar farm in St. Croix, the net metering and net billing programs that we have that allow customers to put on rooftop solar. And then there's also a program that we have that allows for power purchase agreements, which we recently entered into several power purchase agreements for solar and wind. There's a farm in St. Croix over on the east end that's being developed and almost ready to come online at the Petronella site. And then several others that are going to be further along throughout the territory that will hybridize the way that we do business. So what that'll do is it'll allow you to reduce how much of your thermal generation from the power plant you're using, because then you're going to have these farms that are going to be producing power throughout the day that are going to be coupled with battery storage. So you'll be less and less dependent on thermals and fossil fuels and more dependent on the renewables. And one of the things that we're working on with the Department of Energy Secretary is trying to get to a VI 100. Many areas like LA and Puerto Rico have done studies. How do I get to 100% renewable energy, and what's the process and timelines to get there? That's something that we're going to be working on with the Department of Energy, with the labs to set that roadmap for the authority and the Virgin Islands. You get stakeholder input. There's a lot of work being done on the Department of Energy side, our local Department of Energy side, to get community solar and rooftop solar and batteries, especially for low to moderate income areas, people that can't afford solar.
Right.
I see some infuriated comments when we lose power. A lot of people are commenting that, you should just put solar, but it's very expensive to put solar. And Director Fleming has a lot of great opportunities where he has gotten grants to be able to spread the renewable energy resources throughout the community and better serve, especially the underserved areas.
Now, the one thing that I feel like we're hypocritical sometimes, because the one criticism of national politics is how old our leaders are. Here it is how young our leaders are. You haven't made 40 yet.
No.
Kyle Fleming hasn't made 40 yet.
He's younger than me.
Right. Yeah. So the future looks bright. And I see a passion and I see a love for electricity through you. You referred to one generator earlier as she. You got a favorite generator down there. It's number 23. You got a lightning bolt around your necklace. There's a love for, a passion for energy. I think your dad worked at WAPA. Yeah. Bryan Electric is you guys.
Yeah.
Like, you really about this life.
I'm a WAPA baby, and when they say I got it from my daddy, that's what that means. My dad had me installing construction meter bases. I have pictures when I was maybe about 3 years old working on meter bases with him. When I was in college and even growing up, I had to work in the store counting lock nuts and learning the different components that make up your home and even your business, serving customers, so that from a rudimentary standpoint how to get to these larger areas. And then even when I was in college, some of his contractors used to joke that he used to drive us straight from the airport to the shop to work. I really never went on spring breaks or Christmas breaks. I came back home and I worked and I learned, from my father. And coincidentally enough, a lot of the underground and substations that we have for WAPA, my dad actually built them. And, I brought a picture to show you, Rashidi. This is in the 80s when Hurricane Hugo was happening. We were in the back of the truck at the Tutu substation with my dad. He was building the Tutu substation in the 80s when Hurricane Hugo came. My mom was pregnant with my youngest sister. And, the hurricane came, destroyed his new house, but he had to go to work and complete this substation so that we can get back online. So that's why a lot of the components that we have, even before I worked for WAPA, I already knew where they were, how they were built, because I worked with my dad on them.
Yeah. Well, there seemed to be some child labor laws that were broken then, but we'll forgive it. We understand.
Island people, we try to make our children strong, and so that they can appreciate what they have, and especially in a family business, you have to know how to run it. You have to know, the field work. So even my 15-year-old niece right now, she's obsessed with these YouTube videos of a young woman in Texas that is an electrician that's doing all of the work herself. So now she wants to be an electrician.
Okay. So no, this is amazing. I appreciate you coming. Now I don't know that you need bail per se. I'm gonna shoot you some bail because you have a very important budget meeting at 9:00.
Yeah.
Our interview was scheduled for 9:00. As opposed to canceling, you said, hey, I could come in early.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you are running into the fire and not running away from the fire. There are folks on the live that appreciate the transparency. I liken WAPA to somebody who owns and operates a safari. This is an old safari. It's a raga. It broke down. I mean, or better yet, a bus. No air conditioning.
Right.
I can't afford to have you ride my bus for less than somebody else because then I'd never be able to afford to fix my bus. And I feel like that is the issue that is facing WAPA. You have an old, dilapidated plant times 2, but you can't afford to reduce the cost of energy because you just clearly said yesterday that you can't afford the fuel. And you just told me in this interview, the way you pay for fuel is through the monthly bills.
Right.
So it is a catch-22. I am pleased that we have placed a young person who is from here in this position because I want to see you win. I want to see Virgin Islanders win. Now, with that being said, there are some immediate answers that I need you to get to before you get out of here.
Okay.
All right? I think we kind of addressed why we can't reduce the cost of energy even though it's unreliable. Correct?
Yes. Immediately.
Okay.
Yes.
Not for now.
For now.
But that is one of your down the line things is to
Correct.
reduce the cost of energy.
Yes.
All right. Now, the one thing that St. Croix has over St. Thomas is more reliable power. So
Correct.
some people ask the question, so why are you replacing all of St. Croix's power plant when St. Thomas has more? What's the answer to that?
Well, that's because St. Thomas started the replacement of generators before St. Croix. They say that the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Right.
St. Thomas was in much worse shape than St. Croix was. You can see that just based on the outages. And we had started the replacement. We had the first 3 Wartzillas that were installed. And then this is the phase 2 that we're working on right now that will add 4 more generators. So St. Thomas has more newer generators that were installed, and we're going to replace 2 more under FEMA. So essentially, you're going to have a new power plant. St. Croix hasn't gotten any replacements yet. Not since I've been here. The only installation that we've put in the last 10 years has been the Agrecos, which is a rental. So we need to get out of that rental lease. We pay about $800,000 a month just to rent the units, and install newer generators in St. Croix so that it's reflective of the installations that we've done in St. Thomas. So once we get the Wartzillas online, we're hoping to stabilize the power generation side.
Okay. Now, one thing that I could take away as somebody who knows zero about electrical engineering is that you seem to know a lot. Nicole Larson asked the question, when are you going to get meters? My meter has been blank since last year, and I've been getting estimated bills. Months ago, I got an actual bill for $1,600. Now, how do we fix an issue like that where there's people in St. Croix who want to legitimately pay for their power, but actually getting power for free, like new construction projects, because there are no meters. How do you address that? When will you address that?
Yeah, so we have a 2-prong approach to address that. Our AMI system was also damaged in the storm, and it's progressively degrading. We had a 95% read rate automatically before the storms. Now it's down below 50%, and we're losing meters every day. So we have some orders that are in that we're expecting in a couple of weeks to get some new meters in. We're trying to focus on those areas. And then we're also doing a prudent replacement project with FEMA that we're working through right now. Hopefully we can start that project very soon and start deploying new meters, a new infrastructure so that we can address that issue. It's impacting our entire billing system because you don't have the data to be able to substantiate bills, which is why you're estimating so much. A meter could work today and then tomorrow it's blank, or it just has zeros on the screen. So that's something that we're working on right now so that we can, again, try to keep the system alive before we could replace it entirely.
What's the timeline on that?
The timeline for the entire replacement is probably about 3 years, but it'll incrementally get better. Like I mentioned, we have some orders for meters where we're going to be doing some replacements, and then we have the longer term plan to replace the entire system.
Y'all listening to her? This is courtesy of Althea Gums. Sounds scary in the beginning, don't it? But she goes on to say this isn't fake. She's highly knowledgeable. And I feel like you're handling of yourself. And nobody wants to be the face of a failing anything, no matter how pretty that face may be. And for you, this is a legacy item. This is your dad's legacy at WAPA. This is Bryan's Electric down in Subbase. This is a legacy item for you guys as well. And to be clear, this was a dream of yours 10 years ago.
Yep.
You seem knowledgeable. Anybody that I've ever spoken to about you talks about how intelligent you are. After Irma Maria, I saw you in the streets working side by side with other engineers and WAPA employees. To whom I would like to ask everybody, leave the WAPA people them alone, man. When they get to the bar, let them have a drink. They deserve it. They are under stress. When you see this face in public, please, I mean, come on, be kind. One of the things that I liked about Hugo Hodge was, I don't remember the name of the storm. I was at another radio station on St. Croix when this happened. But he was in the street working with the recovery efforts.
Yep.
And that's the same thing I like about you. Like
Hugo, when I first started, we had some issues in the same Randolph Harley power plant with Unit 18 that's no longer there. And we were on rotations for, I think, about 2 weeks. And he was personally in the control room, at night, in the middle of the morning. I was there with him. He was like, sit right here. We're going to learn something today. And, when people would call screaming on the phone saying they want to speak to Hugo Hodge, he has that baritone voice. Right. He would be like, you're speaking to him, but very, very knowledgeable about the power system, even as a CEO level. And he's a mechanical engineer. He's not an electrical engineer, but he could tell you how the feeders are run, how the generators operate. So that was something that I definitely admired about him as in that leadership role, that he wasn't just up above, he was
and that's
down
something
in the
you
ranks.
took away as well.
Yes, certainly. And from my dad as well. My dad doesn't just give instructions. He's out on the field with his guys.
All right. So you've had the practical training, you've had the educational background, you got a long life ahead of you because you ain't even 40 yet, and I would love to see you in a position of power for the foreseeable future, because the desire is there. This is something that you want to do, and I feel like it starts with that. And we've been importing people to lead the authority for quite some time with very little success and gains. So I feel like the pressure of the community, being of the community, will have an impact on your leadership role as well. So timeline for the power to stop going out before I let you go.
I'm praying today. Because I don't like the power going out, Noah.
Is that a real answer?
No, but
Okay.
but I mentioned Unit 15 back online on LPG. So taking Unit 23 out of the dispatch, running less on diesel, trying to save some money, doing more maintenance. So, it's a long-term plan for the end of this year for the new generators, for the power to stop going out the way it is now. But progressively, getting the batteries online, getting some maintenance done on these units, reducing our cost of operation. It's all, in the day-to-day operations that our staff is working on.
Okay. So when rotating power on St. Thomas for the rest of the weekend?
I pray not. But the issue is, right, we mentioned it earlier, the maintenance on these engines is not where it used to be, where it needs to be. Some of the engines are 12 years outside of a major. So where you think that everything might be good. We did maintenance on it. It should be good. It's very unpredictable. And then especially out on the field, you have different elements that affect the transmission and distribution system, right? Can't control rain, can't control car accidents. We get a lot of car accidents, especially on the St. Croix side. Vegetation, you have animals that
I have a vegetation
iguanas.
problem too, by the
I'm
way.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. You can tell me about it later, and we can address it for you.
Okay.
Yeah, but everything is a progressive day-to-day effort in trying to improve reliability.
Okay. All right. Now, I feel like somebody is going to be upset with me if I don't try to hold you to an answer.
Okay.
Realistically, when do you think we can get off of rotating power on St. Thomas?
Well, we're not on rotations right now. The team worked through the night to get Unit 15 online. So
Right.
I wasn't kidding when I said today. Everybody needs to sleep, and it's hot, So
Right.
people need their utilities, and our staff is tired too. They've been going through this,
Right.
over and over, working all night. We brought some guys over from St. Croix yesterday, some mechanics and electricians to help with this effort. So we're sharing the burden. Our staff is tired too, and we want to get off our rotations too.
And of course, your end of year projections are dependent upon good weather here as well. So hopefully, no hurricanes to set us any further.
Yeah,
back.
I was in a conference this week with the delegate, and we have a new HFA director, Eugene Jones. Great guy. He's been doing a lot of great work. He just helped us get the acquisition for the VTOL terminals. But he mentioned something, and I think I need to defriend him. He said that wherever he goes, he brings disasters.
Oh, no.
And I was
This
like, no.
guy.
I say, I need to get rid of this man. Like, send he back where he come from Atlanta, because we don't want no storms this year.
Oh, and listen, you saved the accent for the end. I think everybody loves you even a little more now. But thank you so much for spending some time. I could tell that you are prompt and punctual, and I don't want to be the reason you're late for your 9 a.m. The fact that you rescheduled to come earlier speaks volumes for me as well, because you could have easily used that as an excuse not to have this discussion. And thank you so much, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, that is the acting CEO of the Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority, Ashley Bryan, under the age of 40, doing big things. Big respect to you, man. I got some more good music coming your way. And thank you to everybody who tuned in on the live. Also, I got to say thank you to our sponsors real quick. Got to say thank you to Seabourn Airlines, not just travel, a VI experience, Carlos furniture, appliances, decor, and more. Liberty VI, stay connected with Liberty, stream more, pay less, switch today at libertyvi.com. Kmart has got a huge back to school savings at Kmart Tutu Park Mall, Saturday, July 27th from 1 to 5. Teachers, you could win a trip to Puerto Rico. Hey, my Crucians, don't worry, we're coming to St. Croix as well, and we're giving away a trip to a teacher in St. Croix to go to Puerto Rico as well, courtesy of Seabourn Airlines Neighborhood Pharmacy. They have got their annual backpack giveaway this Sunday, 1 to 4. Super Tracks is going to be juggling, and we will be there broadcasting live for the 10th annual backpack giveaway and G Muscles Fitness Center to a new, healthier you. Yeah, that's it.
Elect they come for a workout. Them gal waistline ready for workout.